And now a featured sports interview from WDLB and WOSQ. I'm DeLisio reporting. One of Marshfield High School's all-time great football quarterbacks is Ben King, who led the Tiger football team to the WIAA Division I state championship in 2001. That season, Ben threw for 2,440 yards and 25 touchdowns with only 10 pass interceptions. He finished his Tiger football career with 3,076 passing yards and 28 touchdowns. Ben also a standout in basketball, averaging 9 points per game for the Tigers in the 2001 and 2002 seasons. He also was an outstanding pitcher on the Marshfield Tiger baseball team and later played both baseball and football at Eastern Illinois University and Minnesota State Mankato. Ben also was inducted into the Marshfield Tiger Athletic Hall of Fame in 2015.
Well, it's a tremendous honor. Even to be considered with the number of athletes that have come through. I'm just really grateful to even say that they even considered me. And like I said on when I was talking, I think really I was just a product of a tremendous school district that had tremendous coaches and tremendous athletes, and certainly the our football team, a ton of talent and a ton of guys that just kind of bought into what Coach Lutke wanted us and coached us to do, and we were just frankly coming through that system and just buying into what he wanted. I was just really fortunate and really lucky, to be honest with you. Looking back, had an amazing offensive line and great wide receivers, a great running back in Corey Geldernick, and it's just everything just kind of fit, and it wasn't hard. It was I look back and just how amazing of an experience it was, and from even to be considered for the Hall of Fame with all the great athletes that have come through, it's an honor.
And what are some of the early memories you have about sports in Marshfield, participating in sports in Marshfield, even before you got to high school?
I would say the first one was watching Joe Imhoff and Eau Claire North when I was really little. I just remember being a fifth grader or fourth grader going to the game and watching that comeback, and then later on in life, frankly, I started out, I loved basketball, and then I remember in '97, I remember that watching that game on TV at my grandpa's house, and I remember watching it, and I remember just kind of in awe of it, and I think it was just something that built, and I think a lot of kids just looked at that first team, this '97 team, of well, wow, that'd be something I'd like to do, and I'd like to play, and the coaches were amazing at getting players out, and you just kind of wanted to just be around it, and I would just say that was their secret.
A lot of kids talk about that. They see a state championship team and say, hey, I'm going to work hard, and in 4 or 5 years I'm going to be there and I'm going to do the same thing. It's always kind of that rush that occurs after a state championship. Was that true in your case? Did you see that '97 team win a state championship and more or less dedicate yourself to maybe playing on that level someday?
I think as a team, I think when you watch that, you certainly, that's something in the back of your mind. I think for us, we just wanted to play football. I think we just really just loved playing, and we loved going to practice, and I think the games were just kind of something that we lived for, but it was really kind of the afterthought. Yeah, we wanted to get down the state, but we really, in our minds, the games that we looked forward to the most were the DC Everest, Stevens Point, the conference games. Those were the games that we really circled on and I think everything after that just kind of was, we'll go out and play, and then if we do what we're supposed to, it'll end up working out. And luckily we had some great players, and made some plays, and the chips kind of fell into place. And but certainly watching that '97 team is kind of what kind of got the ball rolling of what could happen.
Well, you certainly grew up in a football household with your grandfather a coach, a very successful coach in Marshfield, your father a very good quarterback at Marshfield. What influence did they have on you growing up and becoming a football player?
Well, it was like growing up in my household was certainly hearing a lot of stories and hearing all about, frankly, hearing all about what my grandfather would do. He was a coach and very humble man, and I think about him every day. And then certainly with my uncles, they all played college football, and so it was kind of just something that you just kind of did, and their influence on me was tremendous. And when I remember at an early age watching my dad go and play 7-on-7 football, and I watched him go play football, flag football. And so when you come up into a household like that, like a lot of boys, you just kind of want to just do what your family does. And I think that's what this community and frankly my family, what I grew up with, and so it's something I wanted to do.
Are there some coaches you had in the early years that kind of channeled you in the quarterback direction?
Well, certainly my dad, when he was playing, he was the first influence on me because I wanted to be a quarterback because he was a quarterback. But the biggest one moving forward was Coach Gadel. He was a very good communicator, and he really had a way of making you respect the quarterback position and understand just how much it takes to be good at the quarterback position. And he had a way of challenging you and pushing you every day to just do something a little bit better. And that was his strength, and then from a knowledge base, it was like I said, I learned more from him, and than frankly a lot of the offensive coordinators I had in college. I mean, I was really, really lucky to play for him, and certainly I got to go to his camps. So I remember going to his camps when I was in 7th and 8th grade, and so I was around him at a very young age, and fortunate enough again to play for him.
Are there some things that he taught you about quarterbacking beyond the X's and O's and the physical skills that helps make one a successful quarterback?
Well, I think it's just how he interacts with you, and it's straight from Coach Lukey too. It's it's character first. It's being first there. It's last to leave. It's being the consummate teammate. It's never really thinking that you're above anything else. I remember his phrase 11 as one, and that's how we kind of approached it. We were 11 guys out there, and that's why we were successful, because it wasn't about the individual. It was about the team.
We had a great season in 2000 and 2001, both great seasons for you, but that state championship year of 2001 certainly very special. Tell us about that and what that meant to you.
That was an amazing year, and honestly, there were a couple games where, honestly, we just kind of at the end of it just kind of pulled it out. Frankly, we just had an amazing defense, and I think the game that sticks out was the game we were at DC Everest, and we were. I wasn't playing well, didn't have a good game, but I just remember. The defense playing incredibly well, making some key turnovers, and in the end, we ultimately pulled it out together. That was a game that stuck out to me. And another game was the Arrowhead game when we played them, and over in Appleton. God, I'm drawing a blank. But I just remember the game from the standpoint of how many yards Corey Gelnick rushed for. I remember vividly coming line of scrimmage, and for whatever reason, the defensive linemen stunted out and they slanted out the entire game. And I just remember coming to the huddle, and I remember looking at the guys and just basically saying, we can run the same play over and over again, and there's not anything you can do about it. And we came to the line, we told Coach Gadel, and it was one of those stories where, I couldn't tell you anything else besides that, because it was just one of those situations where it was so unique that I still remember to this day talking with my offensive lineman, and it was just that was easy, let's just go back and do it again. And so, that was a game to get to state, and, so it's certainly one of the big games for us.
How about the state championship game that year?
That was a big game for us, but honestly, I think it was the experience is what you remember. I mean, I had never been to camp, I'd never been down on the field at Camp Randall, or to get out in the field and play, and you get out there and you look around, and it was more of the experience, and you let it kind of soak in, and it was a fun game. Certainly I look back, and they weren't the best team we played that year. I think the best team that I remember playing, I would say overall, honestly, Chippewa Falls gave us a pretty good run for our money, and then it was DC Everest. So those were the top two teams, and and certainly Kenosha was a good team, but I think it was the experience of getting down there and just having the chance to run around on the field that you can only dream of playing on.
And can you talk about some of the teammates you had on that team and what they meant to your success?
Well, I would say first off, my offensive line. I mean, AJ Rasmussen and Petke and Chris Golden and those guys, and they did such a fantastic job protecting me. DeJarlis and Lee Femmel and Mike Ott. It was just a fun group. Everyone had their own personality, but in the end, we had a lot of guys that could just make plays. I think of Lee Femmel, and I think of some of the ways that he would just get open, and he was so fast and so talented. And then certainly Corey Gellernick. Frankly, he just, when you have a guy like him who could run the ball as well as he did, it just makes your job as a quarterback a lot easier. And so, we had an amazing offense, and then on defense, our defense was just frankly stacked. I mean, we had a great defense. Ross Needham was back there getting interceptions, and Dane Cordes at middle linebacker, and we were just a very, very good defensive team, and the truth is, defense wins championships, and they were just so solid. And when we screwed up on offense, it seemed like they always got the ball back for us.
Well, not only were you a standout in football, but really basketball and baseball as well. Can you talk about your basketball and baseball careers here at Marshfield?
Well, both meant a great deal to me. Basketball with Coach Sisson, I'll never forget, because he was the first head coach that I had met in Marshfield, and he used to come down to the Kiwanis games and watch us play, and so he, throughout my career, I looked at him and I loved to play for him. He was awesome, and then certainly baseball with Coach Z. I love baseball here too. I just think it was whatever season we were in. I think as an athlete, you just kind of love the sport that you're in, and it was just an overall great experience.
You had a real tough decision coming out of high school as to what to play, because you were standout both in football and in baseball. What went into your decision when that came time to make that decision?
It was really hard for me. I just never really could ultimately make that decision. I loved the sport I was in. I loved baseball when I was playing it. I loved quarterback when I was playing it. And so it was just one of those things where I just felt like, I wanted to I wanted to play as long as I could in those sports, and I was going to play as long as they told me I couldn't. And, so to make that decision, to be honest, I don't know if I ever really did make that decision. I loved baseball. I played baseball in college. I played football in college. And so it was just, ultimately Mankato was the perfect fit for me, and I wouldn't trade anything for it.
And you had a great career at Mankato. Can you talk about some of the highlights up there?
I would say the highlight of my career there was we were playing South Dakota. They were one of the top-ranked teams in Division II my junior year, and we came back down and we ended up beating them and kind of shock them in our place, because we were a 500 team at the time, and that was probably one of the bigger games. And then certainly on baseball, getting down to play to go to the College World Series was a wonderful experience, and pitching in games to go to it, and tremendous baseball team, played with a lot of guys who are certainly more talented than I was. But my college experience, I wouldn't trade anything for it.
And that certainly is a big jump, going from high school ball to the Northern Sun Conference, a very good league in both football and baseball. How did your experience at Marshfield High School prepare you to play on that level?
Well, I would say just the commitment. I mean, I think when you come up through Marshfield, the athletes, if you wanted to play, you really had to be committed. You had to lift weights. You had to do all these things, and certainly coming up in a family where you have athletes who are college athletes. And so I heard throughout my life, my dad would tell me, you haven't done anything until you did in college, and that's kind of what I heard from my dad, my grandfather. College, once you do in college, is something to say, and so it was something I always wanted to do, and then knowing that I played for a guy who was Coach Gato and Coach Lutke, they both tremendous college football players, and so it was just like I said, it was a very unique situation, and certainly my experiences in Marshfield shaped a lot of it.
Well, Ben, you've done some coaching in your past and probably will coach again at some point. I want to ask you about some of the coaching influences, like your grandfather, like Coach Gato, Coach Ludke, and how they've influenced your approach to coaching.
Well, I would say, I think the biggest approach that I've learned from Coach Ludke and Coach Gato is the relationships and what it means to really develop young men. I wanted to play for them because I respected them, and they really found a way to get the most out of their players. And if I could be a fraction of what they were to me, to the players that I'm coaching, I would be I'd be grateful, because they meant a tremendous amount to me, and they were amazing at just molding young men. And I think that's why when you're at a Hall of Fame, you see as many guys from a 97 team come back. It's because they love the coaches that they played for, and ultimately the coaches I played for at every level in Marshfield. It was a very unique place, and it was an amazing stack. Coach McDonald, Coach Scheuer, Coach Fagan, and Coach Gato, and Coach Stromsky, and just a unique group of guys that we just wanted to be around. I think the athletes, we just loved to be around them, and it was fun to go to practice. We were working our tail off, but it was fun, and that's the type of atmosphere that I think when I'm coaching, I try to build that in my players. I'm coaching baseball right now. We want to keep it fun, but we also want to work hard, and so I try to take that from them.
Marshfield Tiger sports standout Ben King, who was inducted into the Marshfield Tiger Athletic Hall of Fame in the fall of 2015. This is Gene DeLisio reporting for WDLB and WOSQ.